I'll do a voice. I'm gonna put you on mute for 2 seconds while I warm my voice.
That's funny. You notice,
Recording?
you know, I'm gonna use all this, man. I'm using all of this. That is funny. But so first off, man, thank you for joining me. I'm Magic Collins, aka Magic Man, and this is the Fight the Funk podcast. Also, this is gonna be put on YouTube. So I'm honored to have you, man. One of my longtime friends, used to be my manager running things. It is Carlos, man. Introduce yourself and what's your title and what you do.
Sure. Thanks, Magic. It's an honor to be here. Thank you for inviting me. What I do, by the way, we used to work together, and not much of a manager, just colleagues, right? What I do, I've kind of jumped around here and there quite a lot. I started in science, physics and math, and did some research, and then environmental science and business. And so now in more of a business role. So I'm working with a bank, and I'm in training to help people with their finances. So to become a financial advisor. It's heavily regulated, so I have to take a handful of exams before I can actually talk to anyone. So that's what I'm doing currently. And beyond that, happy husband, happy friend, and living here in LA for the past 5 years.
Okay. Now, I brought you on here because I know me and you had some conversations about sustainability, and it was
Yes.
and like the way you could go into detail. I'd be like, what in the world did he just say? Like, so explain sustainability as like you understand it.
Sure, that's a great question, and I'll try to make some examples.
This ain't no politics. That's a great question, and I'll try to be just
That's a great
talk, man.
question. Where do we start? So I'll make it simple, and you can take this wherever, whichever way you want,
take
right?
it to the house. Oh, what does sustainability mean to you?
Great. Sustainability. It encompasses a lot, and at the end of the day, it's very simple. So in the big scheme of things, the way I see it is that there's almost kind of like a void around the world that has been left open by government, where they're kind of receding in a way, almost in importance. Of course, our foundation is still institutions and government institutions, the rule of law, but there are less and less protections for our environment, for people, for resources, the commons, right? And so we're coming to ask corporations and the private sector to no longer just make money for their shareholders, but to also engage a little bit more in their communities, to treat people more fairly, to promote diversity, to just kind of be a more encompassing player in the world, not just the money, right?
Yeah.
So that's kind of at a big level. On a smaller and more granular level, we break it up usually in 3 components. So we also call it ESG. So sustainability, you can think about it in ESG too. So it stands for environment, social, and governance. So anything in the environmental part has to do with resources. So water, energy. So you probably heard about green building. That has to do a lot with the E portion of it. So water, energy, wood, any natural resource, we want to optimize the use of it, right? Not just eradicate it, or not just take down all the forests and make palm oil, So anything that has to do with the environment. Also oceans. The S of the ESG is the social. It has to do with things like diversity, supply chain management, basically treating people along where you're getting your raw materials from fairly. So there's no child labor, there are livable conditions. So also within the company, you can also have treating your workers fairly, equal pay, protection for minority
What?
groups.
You can have equal pay? That's crazy, man.
It's an aspiration, right? A lot of
Yeah,
these
yeah, setting the bar high, man. That's a high bar, dog. Hey.
uh, and then we are left with the G. So we have the environment, we have the social, and we have the G, which is governance.
Mm,
And governance has to do with things around transparency. Are we
mm,
basically showing our numbers with regards to these things? Are
mm,
we promoting diversity? Do we have more women on the board? Do we report where our money goes, perhaps for political contributions, right?
mm,
So all of that falls within the where it could be a risk. It could be a probably not very likely impact, but it could
mm.
be very damaging, like to reputation or to the business. So
Yeah,
anything
yeah.
within governance is risk control, basically.
Okay.
Uh, so on the big picture, that's sustainability and
Mm.
ESG.
Okay. Nice, man. Nice.
And we can dive into any one of those, or just kind of go through the history, or wherever you
Well,
want to take it.
well, I did want to ask you, what, because we had this conversation a while ago, but you talked about,
Yeah, you're very curious. You
yeah,
ask good
yeah, yeah.
questions.
Well, when you were growing up, like, what kind of were you like drawn to nature? Like, what brought you into sustainability? Like, what first kind of sparked that, like, a passion for that?
Yeah, I was recently thinking about that.
Mm,
And I would put the majority of the influence on somebody that my mother dated. Uh,
mm.
so
Oh,
my
we
my
got
parents,
history. Oh, okay, all right.
so my parents got divorced when I was very young,
Mm,
in Colombia. So I grew up in Colombia in a small town, and
mm,
then we moved to a medium-sized city, and my mother started dating this guy who was actually the ranger, or like the chief, the highest person running the biggest natural park in Colombia. It's
mm.
called Puracé. So it
Okay.
has a big volcano with the same name and a lot of protected areas. So it's kind of like the Yellowstone of Colombia.
Yeah, no.
So he really, so it's kind of funny because with my cousins, I'll be 5, 6, 7, growing up very young,
Uh-huh.
and I will turn on the TV and I will put documentaries, right, about
Yeah.
animals, about
All right.
nature, and they're like, "Oh, come on, where's Dragon Ball Z?"
You're that
you
kid,
know.
huh? I want to watch nature.
So he really got me into it. I would say also my dad was a tinkerer. He was like a radio aficionado at the time, so he would break things all apart and try to
Mm,
fix things. So I think they both instill in me a curiosity,
mhm,
and especially this guy Jorge. Uh,
mhm,
he took me out very frequently, very often to these parks, and
mhm.
it's just you just kind of feel in awe. You feel so vulnerable. Like if it's really cold, you could die if you don't have food. You
Yeah,
so
yeah.
just an appreciation for what we have, and
Okay.
then growing up, I moved to the U.S. when I was 15,
Mm,
and that curiosity led me to physics. I thought it has some of the most fundamental questions, like what is
yeah,
the meaning of life, almost
yeah, yeah.
from at least from a particles
That's
standpoint,
dope.
right?
Yeah, yeah.
What is
Mm,
energy? What is
mhm.
matter?
Yeah.
So that's very intriguing. And then I jumped into a more practical side of it. So nanotechnology. So dealing
Okay.
with minute things of how our phones work, how things in hospital work, but at the minute level.
Mm,
I wanted to do something like that. And then I became a little bit impatient because I was focusing on renewable energy. And I thought,
yeah,
man, we should have been doing this 50 years ago when these technologies were really
yeah.
introduced. Like,
Mm,
what is taking so long? So I
mm,
think that impatience brought me to business, and
mm,
just try to find out how do you move business forward to take these technologies. And
mm.
as you know, I'm finding out it's not that easy. You have to
Yeah.
be in just about any field. You need patience.
Mm. What
Uh,
was so Jorge, like, was inspired, like, he know how he inspired you?
yes, I recently let him know. Actually, last year, I
Okay.
reached out, found out where he lives, where everything
Uh,
that he has, been through after he left, and I let him know.
uh,
I let him
what
know, and
what
he's
what
still.
Well, guess what, man? Guess who I got for you, dog? Hey, Jorge, come here. Well, he just popped his head in like, oh,
my boss,
Carlos.
second dad.
Flew him up here from Colombia, man.
Made me sweat for a
I
second.
know he was like, oh, shit. It was supposed to be one of those conversations. Carlos, here is your
Put me on the
life.
spot.
But now, how was it? So you moved when you were 15. Like, how was that kind of transition? Did that make you kind of? Was it some kind of a shell shock when you moved from Colombia to? Was it Miami or
Orlando, but yeah,
Orlando?
Florida.
Orlando. Okay, Orlando, Florida.
Yes and no. No,
Mm,
because we moved a lot within Colombia also.
mm,
So you're kind of resilient to that change and you're very adaptable.
mm,
But growing up, after a while, it's also difficult to call any place home. You
mm,
just kind of
mm,
left different places, different people, and just kind of difficult to relate
mm,
strongly to any one place. Um, so the adaptability piece, it was relatively easy. As soon as I got there, I started skateboarding. I started joining
mm,
different groups and things to do, and so that part wasn't hard.
mm,
Um, the difficult piece, definitely the language. They will make fun of me all day long,
mm,
but that's part of it. You just get
mm.
yourself, you put yourself out there.
Did that make you like not want to speak at first and just kind of
Yeah,
take to yourself?
definitely.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, you just make fun of it too, right? I think
Mm,
comedy or having
mm,
some sort of easiness to situations
mm.
releases a lot of that.
Yeah.
So I'll
Yeah.
make fun of myself too. So for example, I'll be skateboarding and
Uh,
I'll fall and I'll be like, "Oh my God, I hit my uncle." And they're
what?
like, "What? What happened to your uncle? Why do you
Uh,
hit him? Where's your uncle?"
yeah. So you just
So,
could. I go over.
oh yeah, so little things like that. It's just like, oh
Uh,
yeah, my uncle is back in Colombia, and
uh,
I hit
so,
him
so,
somehow.
so you just
I,
confuse people with your
I
jokes.
confuse people all the time. one
But,
of one of my favorite words was that I never pronounced it. I saw it written, and I was like,
uh,
"What is this word? What's
yeah.
going on here?" And it was pothol,
Pathol?
pothol.
Tells Pathol.
What is it?
Pathol? Was that like petroleum, like jelly or something?
It's a pothole.
A pothole?
Yeah,
Oh, pothole.
but
Okay.
you don't know how to pronounce it if it's the first
Yeah.
time you see it.
Yeah. Pathol. Yeah.
Nobody tells you that it's supposed to be separated.
Ah, pothole. Oh, you saying that when you're walking around, like, what's that? Pathole.
Yeah, watch out with the pothole. And they're like,
Yeah.
what?
Like, what's this man talking about? Pathole.
So I had
Man.
my own language going on.
Uh,
Yeah.
okay. And then like you talked about a lengthy process of like doing the paperwork to become a citizen. Because like for myself, I'm spoiled. Like I don't have that experience in that regard. I'm spoiled. But it's like I don't have I didn't have to learn like all the citizenship stuff you gotta go through. I didn't have to go through immigration, none of that stuff. So it's like, is there stuff where it's like somebody like me wouldn't necessarily know about that comes to mind?
Yeah, and the range is so vast. I think a
Mm,
lot of people have a very, very difficult time, and they could be here for decades and
mm,
establish a family and,
mm,
have even done public service, and they
mm,
still get deported. For us, it was relatively easy, and we were very lucky too, because my stepdad, he was actually kidnapped. Not We're not lucky because he was kidnapped.
I was like, dang, man, you cold blooded. Yeah, they got him. They got him. They took me. Yeah. Woo.
But we were lucky.
Salute.
It's like, thanks, Dad. I'll
Yeah.
take one for the team.
Right?
But we were lucky in the sense of timing. So we
Mm,
came in literally 3 weeks before 9/11 in
damn.
2001. So we were able to put our application in, and it was considered.
Mm,
Anything after that, there were, it stopped, as you could imagine.
mm,
any immigration process basically got frozen.
Yeah.
And because he was basically not necessarily persecuted, but there was strong evidence. It was in the newspaper, so he had all the evidence. And so it takes a couple of years to get your works permit. Then it takes a few more years to get your residency or your actual green card. And then you have to wait 5 years with your green card before you can even apply to citizenship. So in 2010, we applied, and I became a citizen in 2011. Yeah.
Now
and we got here in 2001, so it took about 10 years.
10 years. Dang. Like, see, that stuff I don't really know. It's like, I don't really understand how long it takes to be a citizen. And like, is it, how expensive is it?
Right now it became more expensive, but it's a few $100s, and I think just over 1,000 for the, it's a few $1,000s once you account for everything, because there are fees to do your biometrics or your fingerprints, your pictures. You have to do doctor visits and make sure that you got, all your shots, your medical history. And then every form, there is, it could be a few $100s. And if you have to repeat anything, and it has to be certified mail. And so all in all is just maybe a couple $1,000s per person.
Okay, per person.
Now it's more, yeah.
Okay, and then like, do you have like lawyers? Like, how do you go about picking lawyers?
A lot of people, I would say, mainly get intimidated because they, it's their first time here. They don't want to read. But if you're diligent, and if you read, and if you take notes, break it down, you could get through it. Because I don't want to kind of cast a dark light, but
hey man,
that's their job,
real.
right?
You gotta be real, man. Let's go. Tell me the shit. Tell me the good shit.
Okay. Yeah, I would say a lot of them make you anxious, because that's their bread and butter, right? They know what they're doing, or they're in the position to tell you what you have to do. So they instill a fear.
So these are the people that make money off of helping people apply,
right?
So like what are they called, like lawyers or something?
Most of them are lawyers, and there are a lot of people that dedicate themselves to do that without being lawyers.
Okay.
So there's a lot of people that do that.
So are there people that actually aren't qualified that are playing the part of somebody that can help you and just kind of make money off
I would say, I'm not sure how common that is, but I've seen it. Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
Okay. Like, is it, I don't want to get, but is it, like you said, like that level of these people are already intimidated by the process. So now I can kind of tell them, it's kind of like me when I hire a plumber, it's like he can say whatever he wants to say, and I'm just gonna be like, here's the money, man. Just
exactly.
Works like
you
that.
Just need the help.
Yeah.
So
okay.
You're willing to pay up. A lot of times, they could drag out a process, right? So they bleed you out of money.
Damn.
Of course, it's not everybody.
Yeah.
I think most people are helping and they're professionals, but you always hear people that had really uncomfortable cases.
Yeah. Is there like for me, it's like I know how to kind of identify like, say, a therapist who's not going to relate to me. I know in like 5 days if this person is not going to work. Like, is there a way to kind of pick up on, like, because no professional is the same. There's a LeBron James of lawyers. Yeah, and then there's the dude on the bench that should be cut from the team. It's like, so is there a way to kind of, for somebody that's like trying to find help to fill out information or any, whatever they're struggling with,
how to discern?
Is there a way to discern?
Yeah, I would say just kind of like general recommendations with just about anything is asking how similar are cases that he has gone through.
Mm-hmm.
So that's number one. And also maybe tied with number one is experience, as in years. It's like, how long have you been doing this? You know,
Mm-hmm.
how much do they know the system, and how long does it usually take for people in my position? So just get a sense of if they're there to get you through or to keep you in there, you know.
Yeah, to just
And also just kind of like gut feeling, you know. You can tell when somebody's just kind of like pushing your emotional buttons and just saying, oh, you did this, or I see this in your history, oh, you must oh man, you have to, you know. It's just like, oh my god. I've done something wrong.
Yeah. Oh, you did. Oh man. Look. Ooh.
It's like, don't take me in yet.
Yeah.
Let
Yeah.
me.
Man.
So I would say just kind of gauge your feelings too. You know, is somebody kind of opening up that world for you, that window of possibility, and where you can have a good case, or are they just instilling fear in you? You know, I think that's always a good.
Yeah.
That's always a good proxy for, are we going to be able to work together? You know,
Yeah.
not just
Yeah.
like, here's my money and.
That's when you start smelling scammy, is when it's like, why does this person make me feel fearful?
Right.
Like it's like, what is this? Hey, ooh, like, dude, I just want to get my car fixed. Like, what are you doing? Well, you may never drive again. Like, what?
It's going to explode
Yeah.
next time you go into the highway.
Unless you drop $3,000. Woo.
Yeah, it's like I came here for an oil change, and all of a
Yeah.
sudden it's like
Good,
$2,000 in repairs.
yeah. Good day, sir. Good day. I'm gonna look at somebody else. Now, so for with so say I'm interested in getting to sustainability. Um, like now, how is that even? Like, how do you even begin to? Because I remember where you were just reading books and studying and knocking out test after test. Like, it was a long process.
Yeah, I think that anybody can have an impact in sustainability. So whether you are an employee doing something completely unrelated,
Mm,
you can ask your employer if they have maybe a retirement plan.
mm,
You can say, hey, I want a different option from what we have. You know, we have 3 retirement options.
mm,
Uh, I don't see anything in there related to sustainability or the kind of impact I want to see my money having.
mm,
Maybe the choices that we make by buying different products.
mm,
Are we contributing to something that is prolonging inequalities, waste, you know, different things that we don't really align with who we are and our
mm,
values? As far as actually being active in sustainability, you don't have to be in an environmental background. You could be in finance, you could be in science, and you could be in arts. You could be a communicator and bring these people together.
mm,
Um, you could be a documentarist and just kind of record, you know,
mm,
make evidence, bring a story, a narrative, cohesive narrative that paints a
mm,
picture of what all of these different groups are trying to do. So
mm,
from a scientist working in a lab trying to improve some material to reduce maybe the component that is not so clean or not so efficient,
mm,
to somebody that is in finance and working with numbers and trying to maybe put numbers to something that is more qualitative, like equality or being efficient with different resources, and trying to put an investable valuable or value in that, you know,
mm,
that has merit. And then to someone that is more of an artist, or
mm,
you know, they could have a podcast, a blog, video, make conferences, bring groups together and talk about these issues.
mm,
um, to somebody that is actually maybe in consulting. It could be in a consulting firm or a consulting capacity for, it could be a specific topic like green building,
mm,
or making sustainability reports. So helping companies report on environmental and social and governance topics.
mm.
Um, so I would say there's a whole range. So I don't think there's one specific, and it's still evolving.
Yeah.
It's not super new, but it is still relatively new. So
Mm-hmm.
there are even programs that are called sustainability now, or
Oh wow.
sustainability MBAs, or
Yeah. When you
um,
started, that didn't exist, did it?
I think there were a handful, but
Uh,
I think there are more and more now.
okay. It's
But
kind
I
of like.
didn't know about it then. I didn't know. Yeah, I didn't know how to. I didn't have the language for it. I just kind of
Mm,
knew that I wanted to help
mm,
something somehow. But
yeah.
now it's more accessible. You can talk
Mm,
about it in different terms. Yeah.
okay. It's kind of like with mental health. It's like now there's so much information that's kind of now more in general public
Right.
sphere. So it's like it's a
Demystifies.
yeah, it's demystifying it slowly but surely.
Yeah.
And now with that, it's like we've also shared a connection with our breaking our barriers with our own mental health. Is there like how are you now when we used to talk back in the day to now?
Oh man, it's been such a an improvement.
Mm-hmm.
I've seen a big change,
Mm-hmm.
and there is no one size fits all. I think
Mm-hmm.
there's a lot of elements that in the aggregate start pushing you to a better place, and it's always a dance. It's not like one day you're better. It's
Mm-hmm.
every day, every day you have to put a little bit of work in.
Mm-hmm.
So from back then to now, I think a lot of the chatter, the internal chatter and the doubts and the fears
Mm-hmm.
are still there, but I don't no longer identify so strongly with them.
Mm-hmm.
I just kind of give them space and just
Mm-hmm.
kind of feel them and just
Yeah.
say, hey, thank you for your intelligence. Thank you. I got the
Thank you for your
message.
input. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I got the memo. Now here's what I have to do.
What was that
But
phrase? Like you are not your thoughts.
yeah, that's pretty good actually. I
Yeah. No, it's
said,
not mine. It's just it's a quote. Yeah,
oh yeah,
yeah.
yeah. I would say you no longer have to identify with
Mm,
all of those fears and chatter, but you
mm,
do give them space, because if you're running from them, you're not really doing the work either.
mm,
Your
mm,
avoidance is also kind of shutting yourself from the
mm,
path. But if there is space for them and still move almost through them, or just like, hey, thank you, I know that's kind of
mm,
my tendency, and it might never go away, but
mm.
I'm not identified, and I don't have to repeat
Yeah.
that story 100 times today. It's just like it came up a handful of times. Okay, I'll move on.
Mm. Now, is there one like kind of thing that you really used to get stuck on that you feel like you've like you can look back and be like, man, I used to trip off that. It's like is there one thing you can kind of say that who you were like 8 years ago, you can look back and see the difference, see the change.
Yeah, I would say precisely what we're talking about, just more emotional intelligence.
Uh-huh.
I used to be, just kind of like in the matrix,
Mm,
just running around, thinking I'm doing a lot of things, but not necessarily moving anyone
mm,
forward, just kind of staying busy. I think that's my refuge, my false
mm.
refuge.
Yeah, yeah.
Doing a lot of things, retracting from people, but I would just go through the motions without realizing it. I
Mm,
was just
mm,
caught up in it. I think that now, finding resources, talking to people like you,
mm,
and finding other resources, again, it opens up that space of almost seeing myself as a third person. It's just like, hey, you're not
mm,
engaging, or hey, this is just kind of like playing out again.
mm,
So I would say just like a different level of emotional intelligence, I think, is
mm,
very important, and that also comes with a lot of rewards, a lot more resilience, a lot more energy, a lot more focus. It's
mm,
not like it's 100% there, but I can feel it when it's dialing back. You know,
mm,
so
mm,
I have little tricks. So I do. Um, I know all my best dials. One big one for me is meditation, which
mm,
it's not as frequent as I would like, but it's pretty frequent now, because if
mm.
I don't do it for 2 weeks, I definitely
You feel it.
I definitely feel it.
Mm,
Exercise, even though
mm,
it's not every day, maybe not even 3 times a day,
mm,
or 3 times a week, but it has to be at least once a week. Or
Mm.
like movement. So exercise is like a sub part of movement. So
Okay.
movement, even if I'm here, if I didn't go out to like, like really sweat, I would
Yeah.
at least do a few push-ups or a few pull-ups, or, at least move the body.
Uh-huh.
Trying to eat a little well, trying to sleep well, trying to
Yeah.
write a thank you letters or make a call. So all those little things add up.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, 8 years ago, I wasn't doing any of
Mm-hmm.
that, or I would even know that I had to do that, but more like an intellectual level,
Mm-hmm.
right? So I would almost try to go through the motions, but not really feeling how it benefited me. But
Mm-hmm.
now I'm more aware. Now I can like drop from here to here and say,
Mm-hmm.
hey, I'm a little bit off.
Mm-hmm.
So that took a long time, and I'm still
Yeah.
learning.
Yeah. And you
Still
can
learning when, yeah,
you start to kind of identify like, when you know you're just kind of up here, and it's like you're just going through the motions. Like, oh shit, okay, let me
yeah.
stop, let me
And it's so
assess.
difficult to throw a wrench at that and stop it,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
Because it just starts playing itself out.
Yeah.
And the fact that we have so many distractions nowadays
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
makes it 100 times more difficult, because you could almost even be that third person, like, hey, I'm being addicted to this right now.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's still like, I can't put it down. It's almost like that.
Right now, so and how has this year kind of affected your life, like with the pandemic and the social unrest? Is like, because you probably have a unique viewpoint on what's happening in America, in this election. Um, like, just starting with the pandemic, like how has that affected your work habit? Has it may strengthen anything in your life, or changed or
Yeah.
weakened anything?
That's I'll try to cover all of that, multi-part.
Well, the
A
first one
multi-parter.
is just the pandemic. How is
Just the
that?
pandemic.
Yeah.
Well, we had my wedding that you're invited to, and I know you'll be there. Back in Colombia, my religious wedding, because I got married here. There's some pictures back there. I don't think you can see them right now, but I got married here almost 3 years ago, and I was going to do my religious wedding because our family, Colombia is a very Catholic country. It's very, very, they would
Catholic.
not forgive
Okay.
us if we didn't have a proper wedding. So
Okay.
we were going to do that. That couldn't happen. That was in March.
Mm.
I got stuck, or I was on lockdown there for a few months, and I had to come back on a humanitarian flight
Mm.
because there were no flights. My wife was there for 6 months. She just got back 2 weeks ago.
Mm.
And a lot of that, I'm just grateful that I
Mm.
still have my job. I was able to keep so I'm very grateful for my employer.
Mm.
Also grateful that I got to spend time. My mom was there and she got stuck. She was on lockdown with us in a farm in this
What?
small town. So we were very secluded. We were safe. We had a lot of space. We had dogs. We had a little pool.
Yeah.
So it was actually very nice. And I
Uh-huh.
was able to get work done because I had internet. So, and did it make something stronger? Yeah, definitely. You have to talk more when you're
Mm-hmm.
locked down with people 24/7.
Yeah.
You have to communicate more, which is something that is difficult for my personality,
Mm.
my personality type,
Mm.
and anything that made it difficult. I would say nothing really. I've seen it as something to be grateful for in disguise. I
Mm.
haven't, to be honest,
Mm.
I kind of have had a good attitude towards it.
Yeah. Yeah. And then what about the social unrest? Like, 'cause as
Oof.
somebody that's from a different place, and then you see it,
Yeah.
like how?
Yeah. In Colombia, we don't have, of course, you see maybe not the same opportunities,
Mm.
but it's not so violent.
Mm.
It's horrifying.
Mm.
It's there's just almost no words for it. You know, it's so blatant, it's so explicit, it's so unfair, it's enraging. So it's so that is very heartbreaking. And then the social unrest, you know, people have a right to be angry, and I would say they're not even at fault, you know, putting aside the racial aspect of it, but more of the just the inequality. Just because my mind, I'd like to think kind of in bigger concepts. I think the inequality gap is so large right now that it brings the opportunity for people like our president to make an easy answer, to have an easy answer, to have an easy exit. Oh, it's these people, or is that group, you know? And nothing is that easy. Nothing is black and white. Nothing is. There are no easy answers. You know, there's an accumulation of capital that we haven't seen since, you know, for many decades, and it keeps getting more and more concentrated, and people that are not participating in the capital markets basically are being left way behind, you know, way behind, not only earning less and having less benefits, but getting more into debt. So it's just, there's no social mobility. So they have a right to be angry. I just think the anger is misdirected. The anger is being directed at ourselves, instead of at bringing taxes up, having more safeguards, protecting more rights, protecting our air, our environment, our jobs, our health insurance, or, you know, just a lot of the mechanisms that made us prosper after World War II are just kind of being dismantled, and companies are being allowed to almost run amok, you know. So it's almost capitalism to an extreme. And don't get me wrong, I'm not like proposing to. This is kind of funny here. It's just like people attach themselves so strongly to a word. So, for example, like socialism.
I was
gonna be Venezuela and
I just did a recording about radicalism, because like if you actually
you can't even talk
yeah,
about anything.
Yeah, man, it's like if you like, the word in itself is fundamental changes. Like it's not
neutral.
Like, yeah, it's new. It's like, it's not a big like radicalism. It's like,
right.
Oh man, y'all just, that was that the energy around it, that's created. That was that radical left. Like that's a created thing.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And you know, they're genius at marketing, so it's intentional. They know what they're doing, and they use very charged words, and to not get into a more in-depth discourse, right? To not actually dive deeper into the actual issues. They leave it at a surface level with the anger and with the throwing fingers, you know, pointing fingers, and what happens? The conversation ends there. You know, nobody is bridging the gap between, you know, this group and that group. It's just like we keep pulling farther and farther apart, and it's so unhealthy that it got us to this point. You know, many people have written about this. There are many documentaries about this. There are a few good ones now in Netflix that I just watched the other day. I think there's one, Capitalism in the 21st Century. It makes that argument that we're basically like a feudal society almost. Like it's really so concentrated. They have, you know, money equals influence and power. So they make the rules. It's like our systems are up for grabs to the highest bidder. And it's so unhealthy. So we can never get down to the bottom of what people are smart. You know, people know that there's something that is not
something right. Exactly.
They just use that and exploit that and misdirect it, and it doesn't let us
grow, man.
Doesn't let us move forward. It's so sad. It's just at the same time, it's almost comical. You know, it's almost it's almost so predictable.
Well, that's why it's like my friend was telling me this yesterday, and he was like, "Man, you still gotta use the humor, man, because like you can be, you know, it's like we can be super serious, but it's you gotta find a humor, because it is, to the point, it's comical because it's so blatant. It's like, how is this? How are they able to just do this in front of everybody?
Yeah.
So it is a sense of find your humor still, finding what you
Yeah,
love.
it's a release valve, some
Mm,
pressure. Yeah.
mm.
I
Yeah.
agree, and I think you do that beautifully. It's just finding those.
Oh shucks.
Yeah, it's it's these things that you have to.
Oh, my
Uh,
dog is chewing on this thing. Stop, man. Stop. He like what?
so yeah, so on a bigger point, that's kind of why I'm interested in sustainability. Why I try to keep my good
Mm,
attitude, bring some humor, and try to move
mm,
something in a tiny, almost obscure career. Try to move
mm,
something forward. Try to
mm.
um, have your money make the impact that you hope to see, right? So
Yeah,
put your
yeah,
money, your
yeah.
retirement into companies that have more diverse boards, that
Mm,
pay their, you know, employees fairly. So all
mm,
these things are connected for me. Yeah,
Okay, okay. That's dope, man. Now, so now that you switched over, like you're focusing more on the financial elements,
yeah.
how does that affect your work in sustainability?
Oh, so it's still the same.
Oh yeah.
So there's something basically called sustainability investing or impact investing.
Okay.
So before, what I did was basically help companies with
Mm,
these topics. Is just like, hey, are you measuring this, or are you doing something about this, but for a specific company?
mm,
Let's say for a local company here in LA,
mm,
help them with these issues. Now it's just maybe at a different level. um, the money that goes into all of these companies that we see, um, all the Google, so all the big brands and even
mm.
smaller brands, but when they're traded and you buy actions or buy bonds from them, you're basically funding them.
Okay.
And what I'm doing now is doing just kind of like passing a sustainability filter through it. Just say,
Mm,
hey, it seems like you have good financials, you're making money, but if you don't meet this criteria, I don't want you in my fund. I don't want you
mm,
uh, to pay for Magic's retirement. He doesn't believe in what you're doing, so
mm.
you're screened out. Well, it doesn't have to be a negative screen. It could be like, hey, I see something that you're doing pretty good stuff,
Uh,
but I want you to tweak and change a few of these things. So that could be called engagement. So we
okay.
could add actually those companies that we disagree with, but we try to engage them and change something about them.
Mm,
So it's still very much sustainability, just on a finance or investing side, but it's
okay.
very much the
Okay.
same thing, very much related.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah,
That's dope, man. That's dope.
yeah,
Yeah. All
it's
right.
exciting. It's kind of small, it's a relatively small field, but
Yeah.
relatively new for me and exciting. And I just kind of I'm a lifelong learner, so I'm enjoying
Mhm.
the learning curve.
As we all
Painful but
should be.
exciting.
It is
Pa-
painful,
pa-
man.
Painful but exciting. Let's not go there.
Oh, this dude, man. Hey, man, this is you can say whatever you want on this, man. The bad jokes, you can say whatever, dog. But
uh, there was a bad jokes prize.
ding,
I'll
ding,
win by
ding,
a
ding.
landslide.
Hey, man, hey, like about 50% of what I'll be saying, man. I'll be like, ooh, man. So you got a funny story of how you and your now wife, um, yeah, how y'all met and came back together.
Yes, yes. I thought you were talking about the story
That's the
that
one
I
I
gave
want.
at church. At church?
Yeah, yeah.
You want me to take you to church? Oh man, that's probably the worst misunderstanding of my life.
Hey, man. So tell the story, man.
uh, so how do I break this down without messing it up again? Uh, so my wife and I are from the same small town.
Mm,
So we met when we were 8 or 10,
mm.
8 or 9,
So it's a
and
small town in Colombia.
small town in Colombia.
All right.
And
Hold
I
on.
moved.
By the way, man, when you invited me, you did not say I'll be able to go to Colombia and then take a like an 8-hour bus to your actual town. You
Oh yeah,
left
it's
that out,
remote. It's
man.
really
You
small.
left that out.
Is the details, the devil's in the
Yeah,
details.
details, dog. Details, man. Shoot.
I have to get you a
No,
straight flight then.
when I plan something with you, man, I gotta be extra careful because you be leaving important 8 hour trip, 8 hour bus ride is important detail.
Yeah, sorry about that.
I was like,
Um,
I'm not going. I can't do this.
it'll be a charter transport, man.
Hi, hi.
Um, so where do we left off? We grew up in in the same town.
Uh,
I left for Ecuador and then Cali, which is the second largest city in Colombia. So
mm,
we basically lost contact for about 10 years.
mm.
And not 10 years, more like 6, 7.
So,
And
so the woman,
yeah,
so your wife now, you guys knew each other when you were little, and then and like, did y'all play together the same, like when y'all was little, did y'all like
no, so
interact?
we didn't go to the same school, but we had friends that went to each other's school, you know.
Uh-huh.
So we knew each other.
Okay.
And so she would come to the same apartment complex where I lived, and I would go to a place where her friends would play. And,
Uh-huh.
we're just
Adorable.
small little kids.
Adorable. Yeah.
and uh, and then when I was 19 or 20,
Uh,
my cousin, he was the one. It was actually Yahoo Messenger back then.
okay.
He got us back in touch, and he was like, "Hey, I was coming back for the first time after like 6, 7 years of living here,"
Mm,
and he reached out to my wife,
mm.
my friend at the time, and he was like, "Hey, my cousin Carlos is coming back, and what are you gonna
Ah,
do? Are you gonna
cousin was
take him
setting it
out?"
up.
Yeah.
Cousin was setting it up. Yeah.
So he was the one who kind of got us back together,
Okay. Okay.
and then we just had a great friendship. Uh,
Mm,
Even though I lived here and she lived there, we were very
mm.
close and very open with each other. She had different relationships. I have my own relationships,
Okay.
and
Okay.
but there was always like a little something there.
Yeah. Yeah. You can just feel it's like something's in the air, man. Yeah.
Yeah. So
Mm,
finally, um, so like a couple of things
mm,
happened here and there, but nothing serious, of course, because she lived there.
mm.
And then in 2015, I was single, she was single, and we met. She
Oh
loves
man.
art. She paints.
Yeah.
Actually, that picture, she painted that. You can see one
Nice.
corner still left
Yeah.
unpainted, still has to be finished. But she
Nice.
paints.
Mm, mm.
So I had the idea to go to one of the biggest art festivals in Miami.
Look at you, man. Look, you get brush your shoulders off, dog.
So that's where we met,
uh,
and I decided right there and then. I asked her out, and we made things work out for a few years, long
mm,
distance. So I was traveling to Colombia every 3 or 4 months to go
dang.
see her, and she came here a few times, and finally she joined me 2.5 years ago.
That's the test right there, man. two
Yeah,
years long term or long distance?
yeah, almost 3.
Dang. Whew.
And then she came here, and we're making it work.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Oh man. Well, I think every relationship, what if you had to like spend a year where y'all had to just talk to each other long distance? Like
Yeah, that
like
was the
you would
test.
definitely know. Yeah, it's like that's a test right there.
Yeah, it was definitely
Uh,
difficult, and man, I'm just grateful. She's a great partner,
yeah.
a great support, and
She's funny,
yeah,
man. She's hilarious too.
yeah, she
She's
has a
hilarious,
great sense
man.
of humor,
Yeah.
something that I lack. So she's a good
Thank
compliment.
God, man. Thank God.
She's the
Where,
funny in the relationship.
where you try, man, she succeeds.
I'm the serious one. That's my role.
There you go, man. Just leave the funny to her, man. Let
Yeah,
her.
I gave up a long time ago.
Oh man, yeah, she's kind of like I remember you told me before I met her, you're like she's pretty much like the extrovert. Like like
Yeah, in the
like when she
relationship.
when she gets comfortable, she can get
Right. Yeah, it takes her a
yeah
little bit of time, but once she's
uh,
comfortable,
yeah yeah
she's
like
the one
yeah
with lots of friends, prepares parties,
mm, mm.
always in touch with people.
Yeah, but I think that's just tricky, man. Like, cause if you're when you're out and about, you would think you're the extrovert, And then when she's there, you think she was an introvert, but it's kind of the opposite. But the behavior is switched.
Yeah, I think that has to do with the culture. So
Uh,
I think she's just kind of adjusting and finding her feet in this new
uh,
culture. So the language is not, I think it's there, but
mm,
perhaps it's not 100% there, right?
mm, mm,
So that could be a bit of a drawback.
mm,
And then for me, I also love people too, right? So I
mm.
enjoy the
Yeah.
gatherings and I can be outgoing and sociable, but
Mm,
I also recharge when I'm alone.
uh-huh.
I recharge with my books and with my documentaries and my own time and
Yep.
thinking all these things and being serious. But when
Uh,
I do go out, I enjoy the heck out of it. You know,
mm,
I'm not
mm,
gonna sit around and be weird or something like that.
mm. Hey, man.
So
Hey, the weird coalition finds that offensive.
no, no, no rejecting of any groups here.
Right? You got respect the weird.
Man, that's almost my middle name,
Respect the weird.
Carlos Weird Solano.
I like that, man. That has a ring to it, man. Hey, okay.
Yeah,
And then there's so all right. So I'm gonna close it out on this now.
sure.
What?
What you got?
So has it been hard to? I'm playing. I don't have anything to close out. I feel like those journalists be having like say, all right, so here's the let's get to the nitty gritty.
The bit of wisdom.
Yeah. Let's get to what's the actually that's it, man.
I'm skeptical of those things.
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
It's again, it's like selling the easy pill. It's like, here's your solution.
Yeah. So what's your solution
easy.
to world problems, man?
Yeah. Just like, yeah, here's the one soundbite and we got this.
So what's your easy solution to solve everything in this world?
I would say don't expect anything to be easy and just keep at it, right? Just every day we take one step back, 2 steps forward, keep a positive attitude, ask for help, drop from your head to your heart, try to be in tune. All of those little things, you know, everything. It's a little tip of that keeps you balanced. So I don't know. That's what I try to do.
Yeah, man, you got me all tearing up and stuff, man. Drop your heart and shit. I'm dropping my heart right now. Man, well, dude, thank you, man. You fucking
thank you, Magic.
Brilliant mind, man. I always have fun talking to you. And
same here, man. Same here.
Yeah, man. And then where can people find your work and what you do?
Oh, I have I guess this website's still out, materialityconsulting.com.
That's
a big word.
Name. That's a whew.
It's an accounting term. Just there you go for my seriousness. 1 point for the seriousness.
Like who came up with that word?
Actually, I'll answer that really quick. Materiality is something that's important. So if something is material, we leave it there. Man, I don't have social media.
No, explain it, man. Explain it, dog. Explain it.
Materiality is an accounting term that means if something is important. Is this material? And important to people in accounting is does it have evidence of affecting how this company runs? You know, it's FU Magic. So I'll leave it there.
Oh man!
But that's what it is. Materiality consulting. Okay. Might as well should have called it seriousness consulting. And that's it.
We're gonna be serious.
So once I pass my licenses, I'll be able to share more, give more information, talk more openly about what I'm really up to, give advice, technical advice.
Well, that's good, man. Because with this pandemic, all I've heard is like
Everything is
financial.
frozen.
Yeah, but I've heard all these kind of. I'm a financial consultant. Like, oh yeah, where you study and nothing. Hey, you're part of one of those organizations where you just get somebody to close you, bring you in, and then you recruit other people. It's like that's not a financial consultant. Like,
Right. Yeah. I was,
yeah, it's so many of
you're
them,
spot
man.
on. It's so confusing. I think anybody could almost put a title on themselves, and it's
Mm-hmm.
not
Mm-hmm.
as heavily regulated as we are. I
Mm-hmm.
also feel that there needs to be a tiny bit more regulation around that, around not
Mm-hmm.
confusing people, because
Yeah, yeah,
it's confusing.
yeah.
You know, you're coming, you think you're getting advice, and it's really a salesperson.
It
Like
is. It is.
they're giving you something that is not in your
Mm-hmm.
long-term best interest. You
Yeah,
know, they're selling you something.
they're selling
So
you
so
like,
if you ever have a doubt, ask somebody if they're a fiduciary. You know, if
yeah, yeah.
somebody's trying to give you some advice, it's like, hey, are you a fiduciary? What happens then? That means that if you're not happy and you sue, first of all, you can actually sue, and you
Mm-hmm.
go through the public courts, and people are scared of
Mm-hmm.
the public courts. You know, so there's a lot more.
Mm-hmm.
You're gonna walk a little bit more straight
Mm-hmm.
when that's the potential ramification of some bad outcome, right?
Yeah,
If
yeah.
not, if they're just
Mm-hmm.
you know, if they're not a fiduciary, that you have to come to arbitration, and you know,
Mm-hmm.
you basically lose a lot of rights
Okay, okay.
against
Yeah.
a fiduciary.
Uh,
So yeah, man, not to get too technical on you again, but
now I've
I
heard
feel strongly about
fiduciary.
that. Yeah,
No, I
yeah.
think
So use
that's
that word. Yeah,
yeah,
hey,
because
you're a
I
fiduciary.
just this pandemic, I've had like 6 different people hit me up to either be
Yeah, ask them that. Are you a fiduciary?
yeah,
And see
yeah. It's
what they
like, come
say.
on, man. And it's always against,
Or actually even ask them that, if I'm not happy, if I see if I
mm,
smell wrongdoing, can I take you to court?
yeah, yeah, yeah.
You
Something
know,
doesn't add up. Yeah.
yeah.
So
So
it's scamming season. So I'm always, the more you can help people not get scammed, the better.
tell me about it. I've been scammed so many times in my life. It's almost
Mhm.
funny.
I'm sorry, man.
It's also comical.
I give you a $5 back, man.
Oh my God, you're gonna laugh about this one. I was working for a company. I was in Pasadena,
Mm,
and you see this nicely dressed dude in sports attire. You know, this
mm,
athlete just coming down the street, and he's like coming towards me and taking out his earphone, and it's like, oh man, he took out a bunch of bills, like ones and
mm,
fives and tens. He's like, oh man, do you have uh I'm trying to do this transaction and I need a big bill. They won't take these bills. Like, do you have a 50 or 100? I'm like, no way. So, oh man, at least a 20. So I started taking out money. I thought he needed a bigger bill.
mm.
Oh man, as soon as he took it, he just he
No, you didn't, man.
well, because he had it in his hand and he was almost like pushing, like putting his hands forward, like, oh, here's about 20. So I
Mm,
thought, oh, he's gonna give me the 20. I'm gonna give him a 20.
mm.
He's gonna give me 20 in singles and fives, and the guy just took off, and I was just
Yeah.
so surprised and bummed and angry at the same time that I
Mm-hmm.
froze for like 2 seconds. By the
Yeah.
time I reacted to run, and I'm wearing a freaking suit, so it's not
Mm,
like I could run that comfortable anyway.
mm.
As soon as I was gonna run, that guy was gone. He was like 2 blocks down. I was like, man, that was the easiest.
I know he just he came up on 20, he just goes.
And you know what's funnier? I started looking around. I thought I was being taped,
Yeah, yeah,
for like
yeah.
some prank or something. I was like, that was
Uh-huh.
too easy. Like, what the hell was that? And I'm Colombian, How did that happen to me? You
Oh
almost
man.
grow up with that.
Yeah, yeah. It's like, oh man. Oh.
It's like a shame. I'm ashamed to be Colombian right now.
Oh man. All right, man. Well, it's great talking to you, Carlos, man. Thank
Same
you
here, Magic.
for joining the Fight the Punk podcast, man.
We'll
It's
keep fighting it.
yeah, definitely, man. And you actually are one of the people that were the foundational friends I was talking to develop all this, man. So
Yeah, there's a
thank you
lot
for
of
that, man.
brainstorming.
Oh my goodness, man. We spent hours hours talking about this. So and built focused
I'm
on
glad.
mental health and
You
And
bear through it through my intense
oh man,
technical detail.
man, thank you for your help, man. I'm glad we
Anytime.
to be at this point, man. So yeah.
Hey man, you're doing great stuff. Keep it up, and thanks for having me.